Don't spit on you. And don't spit on me either, comrades. Welcome to the counter-revolution at the counter-revolutionary channel of Philosophy for Philistines. Today we're going to talk about Stoltenberg, who's much in the news as of late. And I have a saying, well, it's not my saying, is it? It's somebody's saying, and I don't even know whom to quote. But once a red, always a red. Okay, the article is from News That Matters, exposing fake and falsehoods about Steklov, which is the code name of NATO's Secretary General, former Prime Minister Stoltenberg of Norway. Agent Steklov reaches top of NATO, how he climbed the ladders to become the Secretary General of NATO. Yesterday I saw a photo in Ukrainian media published on the 16th of December 2021. I knew that Vladimir Alexandrovich Zelensky had walked into a trap. It confirmed that the present Secretary General of NATO, Mr. Jens Stoltenberg, never discontinued his work as Steklov. In Norwegian, Steklov means cooked law, which pretty much describes all the governments in the West today, because every last one of them appears to me to be ignoring constitutional law. So he refers to an article, NATO Chief Stoltenberg says Russian military buildup continues unabated as he meets Zelensky in Brussels. And that shows a photograph of them meeting together. If Stoltenberg had Ukraine and NATO's best interests in mind, he would never have granted a less experienced Ukrainian comedian this photo opportunity. Their meeting would have been kept in secret, and what they spoke about would have been kept off the records. By printing such a photo, Stoltenberg played Ukraine right into the hands of Russia. He knew that such a photo would trigger Russian anger and strengthen policies of former KGB Colonel Vladimirovich Putin. We have this excellent dish here in Quebec on the other side of the river here. It's called poutine. And I assure you it's much tastier, although perhaps equally as fattening as Stoltenberg and Putin. Now NATO chief sends Stoltenberg as Putin's backing for now. I started to look back in time. It was one of Mr. Stoltenberg's local leaders in my youth, as chairman of my island's wing of the Social Democratic Youth, AUF. I have also met Stoltenberg personally and worked as advisor for one of his ministers when Stoltenberg was Prime Minister of Norway. As an investigative journalist by profession, I am called to solve larger puzzles and rediscover the picture people have tried their best to hide or destroyed so we can all see it. In 1991, In 1991, the Russians found KGB's file on Stoltenberg. He had been given the name Steklov. Stoltenberg was born in 1959, now 32 years old. Stoltenberg could now not deny that he had several meetings with officers of Russian intelligence. In Stoltenberg's own book, My Story, he tried to whitewash these contacts. The Norwegian nation's gross mistake was to believe in Stoltenberg's narrative. That it was only some casual talks about politics and culture and nothing more. How naive is it possible to be? The 22nd of July 2011, Steklov was Prime Minister of Norway. The nation was shocked by the largest mass murder in Norway since 1945. 8 people died when the governmental complex was blown up, including the building where the Prime Minister's office was located. 69 youth of the AUF was hours later brutally killed by this lone gunman, Anders Behring Breivik. targeted the Social Democratic Youth's Camp Island of Utoya. During the government's own investigation of this strategy, it was revealed that Stoltenberg had a hand in a security lapse of the governmental complex. The Norwegian security police asked the PM for an appointment and played a video for him, displaying how a terrorist easily could blow up the governmental complex. Steklov acted like any other secret agent for a foreign nation. He did nothing to solve the problem. In fact, he delayed the work of closing the security gap. I want to interject here that that's exactly how Trudeau is behaving when he's being warned about Chinese incursion into Canadian politics, influencing businessmen and politicians here in Canada. He did nothing to solve the problem. In fact, he delayed the work of closing the security gap. Many of us were puzzled by ABB doing an attack. In the same fashion as displayed on the PST video, it was like someone secretly must have given ABB a copy. ABB refers to Anish Bering Breivik. An insider job? If so, it could only have been someone inside the PST or Steklov. Stoltenberg was not present in his office when the bomb triggered at 15:35 p.m. in the afternoon, 22nd of July 2011. Steklov was at his home office. Who called him that evening, confirmed by Stoltenberg in the newspaper VG. Who called him that evening was Vladimir Putin. What do they talk about? Well, they did not think ABB was planning to execute 69 of the AUF youth. That Anish Bering Breivik was so mad, surely not all had gone according to the plan. How was Steklov recruited? Steklov was convinced that post-Hiroshima, the U.S. was a greater danger to the world peace, a greater danger than Russia or China. To weaken the West and create chaos and confusion was a way to help the Soviet, later Russian Republic, to maintain its domain and position. Steklov was a perfect agent. He was the AUF leader. He had demanded Norway should cancel their NATO membership. Growing up in the elite Stoltenberg family, even I knew that Jens Stoltenberg one day would become the PM of Norway. In 1996, Colonel Putin's job was to look after all Russian foreign assets, buildings, money, and personnel. Putin knew what kind of bomb he now had at his disposal. The Norwegians had forgiven Steklov and forgotten the whole thing. This was obviously written, this article, by a Norwegian, and the English grammar isn't perfect, so forgive my hacking my way through it. It is worth noting that Steklov only had 1 year of civil experience from an ordinary job. Recruited in his youth, he could spend all his time climbing the political ladders. This explains how an anti-NATO politician could become the Secretary General of NATO. There is no other explanation, and not so strange that it was Barack Hussein Obama who elevated Stoltenberg to his high office. Putin expressed great joy over Stoltenberg as the new NATO boss. On the April 19, 2014, Putin is quoted in a Norwegian newspaper as having an excellent relationship with Mr. Stoltenberg. Surely they have worked well together. In 2017, newly elected U.S. President Donald Trump smelled the fish in NATO's headquarters. On a video, sitting across the table from Steklov, Trump exposed the catastrophic chaos inside NATO. Just watch the video. Now, all the links to this be posted below, and all the articles that I may or may not refer to, because I could go on too long in one video. Trump spoke the truth. This is why all the Stoltenbergers hated him and worked 24/7 to get Trump out of office. Unfortunately, I can see here now that this video is not available to play in Canada. Although it has a .com ending to the web address. Steklov is the most successful agent ever. Swedish Minister Bjorn Folke Rosengren forgot that the mic was not muted when in 1999 uttered that Norway is the last state of the Soviet. That's exactly what I thought when I was there, how I felt. Everything was controlled by the government. And the government didn't need to censor anybody. The people censored themselves. I'll continue to read in a minute, but I just want to share one story. I went to see the hydro plant above Rjukan, where the freedom fighters, so-called, the resistance fighters, stopped the Nazis from shipping heavy water that was being manufactured in that plant. And in the middle of Wehrmacht, which is the name of the hydro plant, there is a shrine to the Bolshevik Revolution. And I realized, I had a stunning revelation at that moment, that there was no concept of individual liberty in Norway, of personal autonomy. It was just one form of collectivism versus another. It was one form of mass groupthink versus another form of mass groupthink. And those two mass groupthinks prevalent at that time, in the 1940s, was Nazism on the one hand and communism on the other. And they're just different versions of the same thing. They're identity politics on lysergic dilithiumide. The one identifies with the victim and the other identifies with the victimizer. And of course, both end up victimizing. And both do nothing for the victim. It just gives them a handy excuse to tyrannize, murder, and oppress humanity. This is one of the links. So the Swedish minister Björn Fylke Rosengren said that Norway was the last Soviet state. This is one of the links on the net confirming this statement. We now have to pay a terrible price till the day the Messiah returns in power and glory to rescue all who have not stopped from doing our Father's business. So obviously this person is a Christian, and he goes on to quote the scriptures. The Bible explains this age will be known for wars and betrayals. Let the Bible be truth and all men be liars. Matthew 26, 6-13. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginnings of birth pains. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. At that time many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other, and many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. So obviously the person that wrote this article was a Christian. And I just wish to read a little bit from Wikipedia, which is, obviously presents Stoltenberg's background as common knowledge. Just a short 2 passages. Stoltenberg's first steps into politics came in his early teens when he was influenced by his sister Camilla, who at the time was a member of then Marxist Leninist group Red Youth. Opposition to the Vietnam War was triggering motivation. Following heavy bombing raids against the North Vietnamese port city of Hai Phong at the end of the Vietnam War, he participated in protest rallies targeting the United States Embassy in Oslo. On at least one occasion, embassy windows were broken by stone-throwing protesters. Several of Stoltenberg's friends were arrested by the police after these events. And then from another passage, up to 1990, he had regular contacts with a Soviet diplomat. He ended his relationship after being informed by the Norwegian Police Security Service his contact was a KGB agent, warning him of further contact. Stoltenberg's code name was KGB was Steklov. So there you go. It's kind of like being in the mob. You lead the mafia one way, horizontally, and in a pine box. I cannot believe that Jens Stoltenberg is actually out to defend Western interests, given that the best predictor of any future behavior or any present behavior is the behavior of the past. I do not believe that Jens Stoltenberg has stopped being a radical socialist collaborator with a former colonel of the KGB. I believe that there is some other hideous plan at work. So there's food for thought. Definitely things to pray about. You folks have a great day from Comrade Bill Reimer, who is the counter-revolution.